Toxic Radio. Get infected. You know what all the cool kids are doing these days? Listening to podcasts. And what does Toxic Radio have? Podcasts, duh.
Just as I thought.
Go to toxicradio.net and check out our weekly schedule for the lineup of great shows. Miss any of them live? No worries.
Thank God, dude.
We're on all the top podcast platforms, or just find them at toxicradio.net or on the free app. The choice is yours. Be cool or not.
We're gonna be cool.
Toxic Radio. Get the podcasts and get infected. Hey, buddy. Rah. Hey, man, that's a sweet heavy metal happy hour t-shirt. Where'd you pick that up?
Thanks, dude. I got it at the Toxic Radio shop.
Toxic Radio has a shop?
Yeah, dude. It's in the app or online at toxicradio.net.
That is sweet.
Yeah, and I also got a rockin' Toxic Radio hoodie and a Red Band Underground shirt. Dude, I'm gonna look so rockin' at the party tomorrow.
Well, I think you look pretty now.
Oh, wait, what?
The Toxic Radio shop is a place to get all your Toxic Radio gear. Shirts, hoodies, stickers. Find it at toxicradio.net or on the app. Don't buy it safe. Buy it toxic. Hey, where you going, man?
What's poppin', y'all? Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. I'm your handsome host, Gene Walzak, the NFL genius. To my right, I got the man, the myth, the legend, Uncle Shally.
What's up?
I got Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, College Cottrell.
That didn't have enough enthusiasm for me, Gene.
You're representing the land tonight. We got a little bit of an issue with you. I'm gonna be. We got a lot to get into. We're gonna talk about the Philly versus Cleveland debate, Mount Rushmores. I hope you brought somewhat of an A game, because I don't want it to be that much of a slaughter.
Not much of a debate.
I honestly think our backup list could beat yours, but that's just being honest. We have the MLB All-Star Game, the Home Run Derby, the UFC fights, our cornerbacks list. There's a million things to get into. By the way, just a little cheap plug here, but made it to the Madden Sippo Super Bowl last night with a W. I'm gonna make fun of that kid a little bit. No offense to him, but
You were playing Riley, were you?
No, he's been thrown out of the league.
I got thrown out again?
Yeah, he got thrown out again. That's dumb shit all time.
Kid's an idiot.
Yep. But we're gonna get into a ton tonight, so let's get started on MLB All-Star Game stuff. I want to start there, and then we'll kind of continue through that. Home Run Derby was fun. It was very fun. I don't know who it was, but someone predicted Juan Soto to win it.
I mean, I had him in the final.
I had a Juan Soto win. Cottrell, why don't you start us off and tell us how your boy J-Ram did, representing Cleveland? He killed it, right?
No, J-Ram didn't kill it, but Albert Pujols definitely made it out the first round like I thought he would, and it was against your guy, Kyle Schwarber out of Philadelphia. So I was excited to see that. J-Ram didn't perform great. Once I saw him going up against Soto, though, I figured he wasn't going to make it out the first round. So I even told you guys that through text message. I thought he'd have a little bit better of a performance, but I figured Soto was going to get him out of there. But the Derby as a whole was great, though. Like you guys said, there was a lot of great performances. You had Rodriguez looking good. You had Albert Pujols, of course, being fun, making it to the second round. So I definitely enjoyed this Derby.
You're bringing something up that I want to talk about, but I wasn't sure I wanted to get into it right away. And it's the Albert Pujols first round really big mistake that happened.
I hope you don't say what I think you're going to say.
He got cheated.
How?
They didn't count home run number 17.
That's not true. If you look back at the video, they miscalled it on the broadcast. It felt
the broadcast is absolutely wrong. I have a timestamp of every single home run that was hit. It's already been done by Crossing Broad. You can look at it on their website. I don't like giving them guys too much promotion, but Kyle Schwarber 100% hit 20 home runs. They timestamped each one and showed where each one landed. The ESPN broadcast miscounted number 15. That's the one they read off on the screen that wasn't there. But the StatCast had number 17, which was never listed or counted as a home run. With that being said, it should never have got there because Kyle Schwarber can't hit 13 home runs in 4 minutes. That's just not. If you're the 1 seed, you can't hit 13 home runs in 4 minutes. With that being said, I don't know if the controversy strikes, but FanDuel had a boost, and it was Juan Soto and Kyle Schwarber to win in the first round. And Kyle Schwarber got caught on a hot mic saying, should I let him win before he went up there versus Albert Pujols?
There was, I mean, to your first point, I think the Derby itself was great. I think it was competitive. Rodriguez had his coming out party. I mean, the odds for him to get to the finals were astronomical. For him to win it were even larger. A great showing by a young kid. I know they mentioned it a couple times on the broadcast. The All-Star Game's in Seattle next year, so that should be fun as long as he makes it again. The broadcast of it, like Carl Ravitch and all them,
terrible,
awful. They were terrible,
so bad.
I can't remember who it was, but literally his first 2 swings were ground rule doubles, and Carl Ravitch is like, oh, he's got his first 2 swings are home runs. I'm like,
Pujols.
Yeah, like that. I think is what really amplified the confusion of what was going on. They were miscalling balls, either going out or not being home runs. And then on top of that, people I think were not understanding that the actual counter in the left-hand corner, top left-hand corner, that wasn't moving until the balls actually came down.
Correct.
Like even some of them were like no doubters. They would still wait for the ball to come down, and then you would see it like out of nowhere. It would go from like 14, it would be like 15, 16, 17. So I think a lot of people just think people got screwed out of it. I've seen the crossing broad video. I've seen the other video where it's slowed down and it actually looks like they got it right. I don't know. I find it very hard to believe with the way he's hit this year and how well he performed in it last time, that he struggled that much out of nowhere in Derby. And then you have the hot mic segment to back it up. I know there's a lot of people pissed off.
Soto said, should I let him win in the second round?
Yeah. And it's, I was funny you brought up the FanDuel thing because Brandon I work with was, I don't think he ended up betting it, but he was thinking about doing it. And I said the same thing. I was like, well, I'm like, Soto's the only one you have to worry about losing there. I'm like, there's no way Schwarber's losing Pujols. And then, of course, that's what happens. I mean, it's suspect at best. I mean, it's not me.
Oh, it's Cottrell. Turn your ringer off, bro.
I don't have that noise on my phone.
But with that being said, there's a lot of things that I wanted to get into with that. I don't like the fact that, all right, so like, if you're not going, I don't think that you should be allowed to bet on it. I think they should take the betting off of it. And like that was what made it a lot of fun. People used to like place like bets on it. But if you're not going to have like objective rules and like you're going to allow people to just do whatever and have chaos, like Rodriguez's guy was throwing the ball before the balls were landing.
Yeah.
You have no rules. It's anarchy. And essentially what ends up happening is it's just like, oh, yeah, we're just going to count it.
I don't like that you have to wait for the ball to come down thing.
That's a safety thing.
Okay, then I guess, but I mean, if you're trying to put it like, you don't need to have 10-year-old kids on the field.
That's fair.
They shouldn't be in the middle. They shouldn't be in front of balls that are coming out 110 miles an hour anyway.
It's fair.
So like, get them off the field. Like, it's. I don't care about the safety like aspect. Like that's easy to fix. If your guy wants to get in the box and swing like a maniac for 2 minutes and wear himself out, then he should be able to do that. Like that's part of the advantage. Like that's one of the things even Alonso said. Like he's built to sit in there and keep swinging. These other guys, if they want to take 10 seconds between each pitch, that's all part of the strategy. You should be able to do it either way, whichever way you want to do it. So I don't like that. Like that they need to.
But they're not really enforcing it. Some guys enforce it with some people.
I agree. Listen, that's how Bryce Harper won a couple years ago. Like, if you watch that, they were like, wait to go, and his dad still threw the ball, and he hit it out, and it shouldn't have counted, and that was the one that won the Derby. That's how he beat. I guess was it Schwarber?
Yeah, he beat. Schwarber.
That's how he beat Schwarber. He got screwed that day. It shouldn't have counted. So, again, I think you should just get rid of it. Like you made the timed rounds to make it more exciting, then don't slow it down. You're obviously doing it to speed it up so we don't go back to the old you get 10 outs thing where it takes 20 minutes around because guys sit there and wait for perfect pitches. Just let them go. If you want to be a Pete Alonso and swing at 40 pitches, or you want to be Soto and swing at 25, you let those guys decide it, and their pitchers throw as much as they want to do.
Kittrell, your thoughts?
I'm on the fence here. I do think that I'm not against them just letting those guys just throw and letting them hit. I understand the concern with safety with the kids out there, but I like seeing as many home runs as possible, and I think a lot of those guys like Rodriguez, if he was able to just throw them back to back to back, and I mean for the most part they were, like, you know, there was no one really out there policing anything, but if you're able to throw him more pitches, he would have had, you know, maybe 40 home runs in a round. So I think it'd be even better for the Derby. So I hope in the future that they just do away with that rule altogether.
Especially someone hit moonshots. Like, can you imagine Mark McGwire like playing with these rules, and like you have to wait till the ball lands? He's hitting the ball 700 feet in the air.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
That's not fair.
He'd be
What,
screwed.
he hit it 500 feet, so he's screwed.
Yeah.
Like it appeals to the person who hits the ball 360 over the fence.
Well, then again, it appeals to the guy who is going to drive the ball more, like you said, hit a line drive versus somebody who hits majestic stuff. I mean, I think that's just an easy tweak. I know they got a lot of flack when they went to the timed thing a couple years ago, and then you had the epic one the first year.
I like the time thing.
I do too. Down in Miami, that was the year Stanton won, and that was great. And everybody's like, we're sticking with this, like it works. Agreed. I just don't think you should. Don't think you should like clamp down on how many swings these guys get. Like that. To Cottrell's point, I want to see home runs. I don't want to see a guy have to wait 8 seconds to swing. Like that. That's the part of it. And you look at the totals for this year; they were way down compared to the other derbies.
Well, the reason that was because a lot of guys that were second didn't have to continue hitting.
It's part of that. It's part of the time that it was out there because you have shadows on the field. Usually if it's East Coast, like everybody's starting under the lights, like you don't have shadows. That matters. You saw it with Juan because Juan's like, I want my guy to move back. Like it was a timing thing for him. So, I mean, that stuff all matters. You're going to see it again next year in Seattle because it's going to be the same time zone. But that's a perfect stadium. That's a way bigger stadium. Like you can't have these guys waiting 8 seconds to see if the ball goes out or not for them to swing again. Like you're going to see you guys win next year like 8-7. Like I don't know. That between the only thing that I'm more pissed off about it other than that, it was Carl Ravage's coverage of the whole thing because he was terrible.
I agree.
Terrible. And I like Carl Ravage, but he was awful.
I think he's put in a tough position though to kind of like see each ball when it's coming off the bat and calling them. Like I think that the fact that they're coming off so quickly and there's no other like event where he can actually practice doing that. Like he's just literally looking them off the bat and hoping that they like, and then he's watched the next one.
I'll tell you
because they're not policing the fact that they're not waiting for the ball to land.
I get that, but what my whole problem with it is when Berman used to do it, Berman was literally just color commentating what was going on with the players. These guys were trying to have fledged conversations between home runs. Like if that's what you want to do, then put that on the alternative that was on ESPN too.
Yeah,
do that. Have somebody there that's just calling, like for the people who want to watch it with the traditional telecast that just want to watch the home runs and hear that. You need somebody just to do that because I feel like that would have cleared up so much of the confusion of what was going on. Then you can concentrate on see what's going on, what's going out, and not to worry about asking so and so the next question. Like it was just they convoluted it too much. There was just too much going on, and they just failed at it, in my opinion.
Cottrell, your thoughts?
I mean, it's tough to compare somebody to Berman because when Berman was doing it, I mean, Berman's one of the best ever to do it, and that's just not, football, not just baseball. So I don't necessarily know about comparing him to Berman, but I do agree there could be an alternative to it where it's not as much confusion. But I mean, I was okay with the coverage of it. It was definitely, like I said, it was confusing because you had people not knowing exactly what happened, but the coverage of it, I was okay with.
I'm never for something where people play by different sets of rules, and that's what essentially that became into. Where some people were waiting until they got the A-OK to pitch the ball, and other people were just firing. And that just, I don't know, that bothers me. I also, I almost think that it should be an event that we don't have betting lines on. Like, there's no betting on it. because if you're going to have people on a different set of rules, it just doesn't make sense. Let's get into the All-Star game as a whole. Giancarlo Stanton won the All-Star game MVP. It was really interesting that for the National League, all 3 runs were given up by the guy that had the lowest ERA going into the All-Star game. But with that being said, it's a competitive All-Star game. You've seen a lot of really good pitching. And I wanted to ask you guys what your thoughts on the game was, and then what your thoughts are on Papelbon's comments afterwards.
The game was great. I mean, more often than not, the pitching dominates the hitting in these games. You know, you get the outlier where you'll get like a 9-8 game type thing, but I mean, usually they're lower scoring. As good as the hitters are, I mean, you're facing, you know, an ace every time you go up to bat. You have guys coming in cold off the bench. It just doesn't lend to a lot of high scoring. AL winning 9 in a row is just a crazy streak to me. You know, it's not like the National League is putting out like crappy rosters, but 9 in a row is, I mean, I think it's 9 in a row, and then it's like 16 in the last 20, something like that. They're on the run, but again, it was a great game. You brought up Stanton. I think that was a really cool story for people who don't know. He went to Notre Dame High School, which is like 15 miles from Dodger Stadium. He grew up a huge Dodgers fan. Him and his dad used to go. They used to scalp tickets and always sit in left field, which is, he said the one time they went was almost identical to where he hit the ball. So I mean, that's always a cool story. That's always the romantic side of baseball, which is what I love. So, yeah, I mean, again, it was entertaining. Major League Baseball does All-Star Weekend right, in my opinion. So, just another successful weekend. I enjoyed it. I really have no complaints.
I would just echo the same sentiment. For me, it was fun to watch because the Guardians that were there, they represented, and then the AL won. So I'm all okay for that. And you know, Jimenez made the great double play with Tim Anderson. Tim Anderson almost threw that ball in the stands, but Vladdy made it work. And then you had J-Ram going 2 for 2, and Emmanuel Clase closed it out, you know, striking out the last 3 batters on 10 pitches. So just that in general, though, the game was fun to watch. You had Stanton and Buxton hit home runs. That was nice. But, of course, you know, you want to see more fireworks at the end there. I feel like that's what makes it fun to watch. But it was a nice battle going back and forth. So I was all right with the way the All-Star game turned out.
You guys better pay that boy soon.
Listen, All-Star game as a whole, I'll be the grumpy guy this week. It's fine. I don't mind. I just hate the fact that the luster is gone of the game meaning anything. I don't feel like it's a game that they're trying to win. It doesn't look like that. Papelbon's comments after the game, although I hate him, were accurate. It's a lot easier to pitch hungover than hit. I just feel like that so many people bailed out of the All-Star game this year that wouldn't have bailed out if the game meant something. I'm not a fan. I don't know, man. Mike Trout.
He's hurt.
He had an injury.
They're all hurt by the All-Star game, so they don't have to go.
He literally got hurt. He got hurt 3 games before the All-Star game. Yeah, like I take out the game. Like, dude, if there's one, the dude's won All-Star MVP game 3 times.
Not
like
just Mike Trout. There's 6 guys that got removed from the game.
Oh.
A guy I wanted to see most.
Altuve would be the
Jazz Chisholm.
Why did he not play?
Injury. They're all injuries. I
mean, I know Verlander and Cole dropped, but we said that last show. We knew that was going to happen because they both pitched on Sunday, so they don't want to screw up the rotation for the second half. So them actually doing that is the right thing because it allows other guys to go that, you know, probably could have made it as well. Yeah, again, dude, I don't disagree with you. Like, not having Trout there, not having Harper there, like, you're talking about, like, two of, like, the bigger guys in the entire sport. But, I mean, injuries happen.
I just feel like a lot of nagging injuries happen a day before the All-Star break.
I mean, I would agree with you. A day before the All-Star break is probably
Jazz Chisholm
a shitty time to pull out. I wouldn't argue that with you.
But if you're Jazz, though, what's the benefit of pulling out? You're going back to a Marlins team that isn't great. Like, you're playing in your first All-Star game, you're getting your first All-Star start. Like, who knows if you'll be back?
I don't know. My whole point is, like, I want to see baseball's best in a game that matters. And the game doesn't matter anymore. And I think it should matter. And like, listen, if I told you if I was the commissioner of baseball, we'd make a lot of friggin' changes. I don't want to get hung up too much on this because it wasn't a terrible All-Star weekend. I'll be the Grimpy. I'll be the Grinch today. That's fine. I don't mind being that guy. There's just a lot of things that I would do differently if I was the commissioner of baseball. And one of them being,
I agree with you. I mean, I think it would be nice.
Everyone agrees with me. Everyone agrees with me. They don't want to say it.
It'd be nice if the World Series was on the home field advantage for the World Series on the line here, 100%. But
it'd also be nice if they treated it like a regular game. It's a very watered down product. One representative from every team. It's goddamn participation trophies. I don't believe in that stuff. I really don't. I don't. The best NBA does that best. Best players play. Period. And the stars play a lot more than that reserves do. I don't like it. I don't. I'm not a fan. I think they should do a better job. And if I was the and I think the MLB has the best setup. I agree with Shally when he says the setup for the Major League All-Star game is the best. It is. With that being said, they could do a lot better job. I could do a better job running Major League Baseball than Rob Manfred. Just period.
A lot of people could say that.
But it's like you're seeing something that could be great and it's just good.
I get it.
But, all right, so
there's nothing wrong with good.
Any final talk on the MLB All-Star game? So I kind of want to move on. It's just a freaking exhibition game. It means nothing.
I just hope it goes to extra sometime soon. I want to see the new rule.
I like that. That's a rule I liked. You don't want to go extra innings? You have a home run derby. But if it meant something, how much better would that be?
I think the argument then, though, is you can't have World Series home field advantage being decided by a swing-off home run.
That would be amazing.
Nah, dude.
I think it'd be great.
That's like...
That would be amazing.
Because then you really...
I'm not going to lie, though.
I want to see it. I want to see it. I don't know. Like, if I'm a Philly, though, like...
I would let the manager of the one seed decide who does it, too. Whoever the one seed is. Like, normally they're the manager of the All-Star game. My point being is, like, if the Yankees are the one seed, the Dodgers are the one seed, or the Mets. It's one or the other. My point is, I would let the manager of that team decide who's the swing-off guy.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of get away with that right now because your obvious choice would be Alonso anyway. But, like,
the Yankees can pick Stanton.
My point is, if it's not them, though, and then they go pick, like, their other dude and they collapse in the second half, like... You know, I don't want some Joe Schmo guy who probably really shouldn't have been in that position now deciding if I'm the home or away team for the World Series.
It's amazing to me.
Like if Pete Alonso goes out there and shits the bed and then like we make the World Series and you had Bryce Harper on the bench, then it's like, all right, like cool. Pete Alonso decided our fate. Like F the Mets.
It's Muck the Fets. Come on, brother. You gotta be very PC here. Can we get in our corners list?
Sure.
I want to get in cornerbacks. NFL's right around the corner. Training camps. People are first team. Las Vegas Raiders officially reported to training camp. All players are there. Football's ready, man. It's around the corner. I cannot wait for this NFL season. Best time of year, September, October, November. It's the best time of year for sports. With that being said, we have our cornerback list. We're going to go around the horn like we normally do. I have an honorable mention this week. Do anybody else have an honorable mention?
I do.
Okay.
I got a tie for 10, so no.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I have a tie for 10. Sorry. So
I don't have a tie for 10. I have an honorable mention. I'll start, and then we'll do around the horn like we normally do. My honorable mention, Patrick Surtain. I love what he does in Denver. I think he's a stud, and I think that he's a hybrid corner, safety, next-generation player. Kid's great. Could easily be higher up on this list next year. But I wanted to make sure he got mentioned. Patrick Surtain. My number 10, you're not going to love my number 10. My number 10 is, the 10th best corner in football. It's a great corner. He's the number one corner on a top 10 team. Denzel Ward. Good guy. Good corner. Often injured. Played on the field last year. Devontae Adams has some very, very good words about him. But with that being said, there's 9 guys better than him on this list. So Denzel Ward is my number 10.
I'm gonna get out of the way here.
No, you're on number 10.
Good too. Number 10, I got 2 guys. I got one guy coming off an injury and one guy making a debut on the list that had a great year last year. Made the All-Pro team. I got Marlon Humphrey, number 10 for Baltimore. We've talked about numerous times that Baltimore Ravens team was just decimated by injuries last year. Marlon Humphrey was one of them. Wasn't having I wouldn't say he was having a year up to his standards before he got hurt. Still good, though, still solid. I think he has a bounce back year this year, so that's why I kept him on the list. I'm a fan. This next guy I'm a huge fan of, Kenny Moore from Indianapolis. Took a huge leap last year, made number 10. I think he's going to keep improving. Could be higher next year. I mean, a lot of these guys in front of him are just studs, but I gave him a little bit of love and debuted him at number 10 this year.
Kenny Momo. Love me some Kenny Momo.
Love him. If you watched Hard Knocks last year, you couldn't not love him.
I don't have Marlon Humphrey on my list, by the way.
I'm a 10. Someone show him some love because I like him. I think he's good.
No,
my two that I got tied for 10. I'll be curious to see if either of them are on your list. The first one that I'll mention is definitely his first time on the list because this is only his second season. Gene, I love what you did with Patrick Surtain. I see the same thing out of Asante Samuel Jr. this year. I think he's on a really loaded defense, and I think that's going to really help him shine. You would think that with the other corner, J.C. Jackson on the other side, people are going to target Asante Samuel Jr. a little bit more. But I think that's going to give him the ability to shine. I think he's a great man-to-man corner, and I think he's really going to excel in that Chargers defense.
I'm checking my list. I'm checking my list right now. I'm looking for some number 2 corners. I've no number 2 corner. Sorry.
Fair enough.
Either.
I mean, they play on the same team. Bro. It's not his fault. And then the other one that I have tied for 10, AJ Terrell out of Atlanta. He had a phenomenal year last year, and he plays on a stinky defense. I think he's going to be phenomenal this upcoming season.
You have AJ Terrell 10.
Correct.
Are you for real?
Yeah. As a heart attack.
That is so bad. He had the number 1 statistical season in PFF history as a cornerback last year. Number 1 ever.
Are we just basing our list off
ever.
Last season then?
No. So, is he old? Is he aging? Is he getting worse?
No, he's young. He's on a horrible
defense. That is absurd.
Not.
Okay.
You got a 2-time Pro Bowler as your number 10.
Everybody here's a 2-time Pro Bowler. It's top 10 corners in football, brother.
Not your number 1 corner. He's not. He's a 1-time Pro Bowler.
Is that your number 9? What's your number 9? You had 2 number 10s. Give me your number 9.
Yes. My number 9 is Kenny Momo out of Indianapolis.
Momo.
Bill already talked about him. I think he's obviously a special corner. Finds a way to get to the Pro Bowl every year. Is great in coverage, and that Colts defense is going to be even better this year with additions like Stephon Gilmore. So I like Kenny Momo to have another good season.
Shall we?
Number 9, I got Xavier Howard from Miami. He's going to play on a very good defense again. It's going to be the number 1 corner. To Gene's point, everybody on here can play. I mean, these are all number 1 guys. But they play a little bit. I value man coverage over zone. Miami plays a lot of zone. Not taking anything away from him. He's a good athlete. He's a good corner. I obviously have him number 9, so I think highly of him, but I just don't think he's as good as some of these guys ahead of him.
I have him also number 9. He's a ball hawk, takes the ball away a ton, plays very aggressive style, plays a lot of zone, which is the reason he gets hated on a ton. I don't think 9 is a discredit to anyone. I think it's actually a very good number to be at. If you're a top half of number 1 cornerback, top third of a number 1 cornerback, you're a very good cornerback in the NFL. I have Xavier Howard number 9. My number 8 is Kenny Momo. Love me some Kenny Momo. Yeah. Kenny Moore is a number 1 corner. He is elite, and you'll see that this year when he's matched up against the number 1 corners this year, and Stephon Gilmore is their number 2. You'll see that very clearly. Kenny Moore is a ball hawk. He is a leader on defense, and he went up against the top guys for every team in that division and did work. Love me some Kenny Momo.
I think I was going to undervalue Kenny Moore, and apparently I did. Number 8 for me. This guy's in the same boat as Marlon Humphrey, Baltimore. Also a huge fan of this guy. Tre'Davious White from Buffalo, coming off an ACL injury. It's the only reason he's down at number 8. I don't know if he's going to be ready for the start of the year. As good as these guys are and as great as athletes they are, they still struggle a little bit when they come back from these injuries. It's the only reason I have him number 8. And you saw Buffalo's defense struggle when he went out last year. It was night and day with their secondary. It goes to show you even more how important he is when you consider the safeties that team has, and they still struggled in the past when he went down. So I have him number 8.
Number 8 and 7 for you, Joe.
Number 8 is a guy that you guys have already mentioned, Xavier Howard. You guys pretty much covered it all, so I won't go into too much detail there. I think he's going to have another good year. This is his second year in a row being on the list for us, so, I mean, we know what he can do there, especially when he's taking the ball away. Then my number 7 is Marlon Humphrey out of Baltimore. I know he's coming back from injury, but I think he's going to have a really good season again this year. He's going to probably play the full season. I expect him to come into camp, be fully healthy, and have another great season. That Baltimore Ravens defense, they're going to be healthy, and they're going to be even better, especially adding Kyle Hamilton up there and Marcus Williams in their secondary. So Marlon Humphrey's job gets a lot easier, and I think he's going to have a great season.
Number 7 for me, I'm going to be the first person to bring up his name. I'm going with Darius Slay from the Philadelphia Eagles. I think he's been overly disrespected and nitpicked apart on a team that had not a very good defense, to be honest, the last 2 years. 2 years ago, he was probably a total of 10 inches away on 8 different plays of stopping touchdowns or having interceptions or breaking passes up, and he'd be considered a top 5 corner. The dude plays man-to-man. He'll go both sides. He'll travel. And he's shut down great receivers in the game year after year. So, I don't know. Some people might think it's a homer pick. I don't. I think he's going to have an even better year this year. I'll go Darius Slay, number 7.
You think it's a homer pick at 7? I think it's disrespectful.
Yeah. Try to balance.
Oh, you'll see.
He's not on my list.
Oh, there you go.
And this is a guy arguing Denzel Ward is going to be a top 5 guy, but Darius Slay's not on his list. That's absurd. Darius Slay is a better cornerback than Denzel Ward. It's not close.
You had
close.
Denzel Ward number 5 on. If you go back and listen to last year's show, Gene had Denzel Ward number 5, and he didn't have Darius Slay on his list. If we go back and play the tape, so just keep that in perspective.
Darius Slay is a better cornerback than Denzel Ward.
That's fine. You could think that.
My number 7 is Tre'Davious White. Tre'Davious White was the heart and soul of that Buffalo defense. When he went out, Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde both got exposed, which is why they went high on my list as far as safeties. Tre'Davious White helps them tons. They can cheat. They can gamble. Tre'Davious White's a true man-to-man shutdown corner. He could be an elite corner. The only reason he's not in my top 3 is because top 5 is because he's coming back from injury. So I agree with you 100% there. But Tre'Davious White needs to be high on this list. My number 6 is Marshawn Lattimore. Marshawn Lattimore is a shutdown guy. I think he had the most deflected balls in the league last year, which is incredible for any corner. It means they're throwing the ball at him, and he's knocking the ball down. So Marshawn Lattimore, man-to-man, great tackler, good coverage guy. He's my number 6.
Number 6 for me, I have the very popular so far Denzel Ward from Cleveland. I'm not going to get into the semantics of all this. I would take Darius Slay or Denzel Ward on my team any day. I think they're both good. I think Denzel Ward, you saw what he could do when he's finally stayed healthy last year. Also, to Gene's point, the problem is he doesn't stay healthy a lot. So I'm hoping he does this year. I think he's a great corner. I think he had a very good year last year. He closed very well last year. I mean, when you're going from 7 to 1 here, you're really starting to split hairs. So I have Denzel Ward number 6.
He had 16 games last year, right? 16 out of 17? I think he played every game but one. Am I right, Control?
Played 15 games last year.
15.
I want to say it was either 14 or
No one
15.
played.
Was that the most?
Played week 7. No one played week 18.
Was that the most he's ever had in his career?
Let's go take a look.
I just want to check because he's constantly
It
hurt.
was correct. I mean, but it's not like he plays 8 games, 9 games. He's been 13, 12. Like he plays games. This is before they moved the season ahead of game. Like it's not. Let's not say that.
So he's never played a full season.
He has not played 17 games or 16 games. Correct.
Okay, just checking. Good.
My number 6 is Tre'Davious White. You guys talked about him already at nausea. He's going to come back from injury, be even better, especially on that Buffalo Bills defense. So I think Trey White deservedly so is going to hold down that 6th spot. My number 5 is going to be Jair Alexander of the Green Bay Packers. He's on a team with with no pass rush. They lost their best pass rush guy in Zadarius Smith. So I think his job's going to get even harder. And he's also coming back from injury. So make of that what you will. He's my number 5.
My number 5, Gene so man. My number 5 is Marshawn Lattimore. Gene kind of hit it right on the head earlier. Dude loves playing man-to-man. He likes playing physical. Had a little bit, for his standards, I'll say this, he had a little bit of an up and down year last year. He did lead the league in deflected passes. I did read that today. I think he's still a top 5 guy. And again, he's playing on a very, very good defense. I think he's going to be a stalwart on this list for still a couple years to come. So I'm a Marshawn Lattimore fan. And I'm number 5.
My number 5 is Big Play Slay. Slay travels with the number 1 wide receiver no matter where he goes. He has no safety help, plays man-to-man, and allowed 100 yards one time last year, period. With that being said, Slay is constantly attacking the ball. He had 2 pick sixes last year. He had a fumble return for a touchdown. The guy is big play. Big Play Slay he's been undervalued and underrated in this league because he played for the Detroit Lions and he was the only good player there. He played on the Eagles defense last year. That was, once again, not great. With that being said, they added Jordan Davis. You have Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis, and Hassan Reddick, pass rush. What that's going to equivalent this year is that's going to get Big Play Slay a lot more pick sixes. Expect Darius Slay to lead the NFL in interceptions this year. Because you can laugh all you want. The guy lines up versus the number 1 wide receiver on every team. He plays a man-to-man on the left side, on the right side, and he played with 0 pass rush last year. And he allowed 100 yards one time. He should have been an all-pro corner last year. Darius Slay's my number 5. My number 4 is a guy that got traded. He statistically one of the best seasons you can have as a cornerback. J.C. Jackson. J.C. Jackson really came into his own last year. J.C. Jackson's a stud. He's going to a Chargers team where they have a very adequate number 2 corner, Asante Samuel Jr. They also have a very good pass rush. Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack are going to get after the passer. So what that does is that makes a corner's life a lot easier. So J.C. Jackson is my number 4.
Number 4 for me, I have A.J. Terrell from Atlanta. Gene hit on it a little bit earlier. So did Cottrell. PFF, not that it's the holy grail. He did have the highest rated season ever by a corner. In some ways, Gene just brought up this point about Darius Slay. He kind of reminds me of that, as in he's the only really good player on a really bad defense. I think he's going to keep doing his thing. They love him down there. He had a great year. He's young. He's just getting better. Hopefully he takes another step this year. He wasn't on anybody's list last year, obviously. We all have him on our list this year. So A.J. Terrell, high ceiling based upon what we saw last year. Very aggressive, very quick, has good hands. I expect him to have another good year. I have number 4.
Love it.
My number 4 is a guy that you both have already mentioned on your list, the Cleveland Brown himself, Denzel Ward. Top 5 corner in football. He made the Pro Bowl last year for a reason. He held Jamar Chase to his lowest total output all season last year. He was the one corner that actually gave him some problems. Denzel Ward didn't give up any games to any receiver for 100 yards. So Denzel Ward lands the number 4 spot for me. My number 3, his former teammate at Ohio State, Marshawn Lattimore. I think Marshawn Lattimore has another phenomenal season. He's got Tyrann Mathieu on the back end to help him out. He's also got Marcus May. That's going to make his job a whole lot easier. When you got safeties that can cover, makes your job as a shutdown corner a lot easier. So I think he's going to have another phenomenal season this upcoming year.
So when you make those 2 picks, where you have Denzel Ward 4 and Marshawn Lattimore 3, higher than we both have. Do you have Lattimore higher?
I have Lattimore 5.
Okay. So you don't think there's any homerism, Ohio State, Cleveland Browns in that, right? You just think that's like legit where they're at.
Well, Shally had him 5, and
you have them 3.
Correct, I do.
Okay.
You'll notice the trend here. I have a lot of corners that I think are great players. They have great safeties behind them. That's the trend with my list.
Okay. Your number 3?
My number 3 is a guy Gene just talked about, J.C. Jackson from Los Angeles Chargers. Had a great year. Last year in New England, going to a stacked Charger defense this year. Gene mentioned it already. Great pass rush. Mack, Bosa. He's got Derwin James over top if he needs him when he's not playing down in the box. And he's got a great running mate on the other side with Asante Samuel Jr. I think that defense is going to be I don't see them not being top 5 this year. They might be top 3. He's going to do a lot of big things. Young, athletic kid, loves to play the football. It's one thing I love about him. He loves to play football. Has a great attitude. From all recollections, he is a great teammate. I think he takes actually another step this year. That's why I have him so high. I'm very high on J.C. Jackson.
Here you go. You ready? You ready for Cottrell's? Throw your pen up in the air. My number 3 is Jalen Ramsey. Not saying he's not a great cornerback. He is a great cornerback. This isn't a Lifetime Achievement Award. He is taking a step back this year. You've seen it in the Super Bowl. He got burnt 3 times. 3 times in that Super Bowl game. Number one was offensive PI. I completely understand that. The second one, Jamar Chase put him on his ass. And the third time, which would have been the game-winning touchdown, he got destroyed off the line, but Joe Burrow did not have the time to throw him the ball. Jalen Ramsey is a great corner. He is legitimately a top 3 corner, but he's number 3. And if you'd like to debate with me, that's fine before I give you my number 2, because my number 2 is A.J. Terrell, a guy you have number 10. It's absurd. Targeted, expected points added last year. Negative 29.4. Number 1 in the NFL by 13 points. Passer rating allowed against A.J. Terrell, 49.9 versus one of the worst pass rushes in football that was second best in the league. I got more for you. Tight window percentage, 30.1%, number 3 in the league. Catch rate allowed below expectation, negative 14.6, number 1 in football. And the last one, number 2 in football, only behind J.C. Jackson last year, average separation, 2.7 yards. The kid is a stud. I don't care that he plays for Atlanta. I'm talking about the best corners in football. He wasn't on my list last year. I seen with my eyes. Kid's an all-pro. He's going to be a several-time all-pro, A.J. Terrell.
I feel like you're yelling at me.
I'm just fired up.
And I had him number 4.
No, I'm not yelling at you. I'm yelling at him for having him number 10.
I'm still waiting for Cottrell to throw a pen. That's what I was waiting for.
Gotta show me something more than just one season.
It's a projections list for one season. It's not a Lifetime Achievement Award.
I'm aware of that, but when you have somebody that's had, back to back great seasons, and you got one guy that just has one breakout year, who's to say he's going to repeat that? We've seen so many times where there's great athletes that have that one phenomenal season and they never repeat that.
Because all the next level metrics show that it'll repeat that. It's not like they're accidental.
The
Like,
ones
all
you
right, so
cherry pick, yeah.
a guy none of us had on our list. Why didn't we have Trayvon Diggs on our list? Why? You know why? Because
he gave a lot of yards.
Correct.
I didn't have to go to advanced tickets for that.
And he cherry picks interceptions. And what essentially does is super
Correct.
aggressive corner. You can see where he might not ever have a season like that again because he cherry picks interceptions and he gets burnt on double moves. When you look at next level stats, separation, contested catch rate, passer rating allowed when throwing at him, it's not accidents that this kid is dominating the competition. Number 2?
Oh, am I going?
Yeah.
All right. Number 2, I have Jair Alexander from Green Bay. I know he got hurt last year, didn't play most of the season. I saw enough from him the previous year, taking those steps and what he's going to be. I think healthy this year with a solid Green Bay secondary yet again. I think he's going to show you exactly what he is once again, as long as he can stay on the field. Great man quarter, can play inside and outside. He can play physical. He has good hands. He's just a complete corner. I love him. I think he's having another great year. I have him number 2 for a reason, so I'm comfortable with him there.
Stud.
He is.
Number 2 and number 1.
Number 2 is going to be J.C. Jackson. Both of you guys already talked about him. Going over to a phenomenal Chargers defense. I already talked about it a little bit when I mentioned Asante Samuel Jr. And he's got 2 great safeties behind. Well, one great safety and one pretty solid safety in Nasir Adelaide. So I think J.C. Jackson's going to go over there in Brandon Staley's system, then he's going to be locked down, and he's going to have a great statistical year, and all the metrics are going to show that he was one of the best corners in football. I expect him to be an all-pro from the AFC. Then my number one corner has been the best cornerback in football for the past 5 years, and that's Jalen Ramsey. I just think what he's done has shown that he is the best corner in football. Talk about the Super Bowl all you want. One of them 100% should have been offensive pass interference.
Agreed.
And Jamar Chase did, beat him on a route, and then the other route never happened. So that doesn't matter to me.
Can I ask you a question real quick? You said it doesn't matter to you. Hold on. You said it doesn't matter to you. Let's just say it did happen, right? Because it did happen. Everybody's seen. Hold on. Everyone's seen it happen, right? Like we've seen the replay a million times.
Correct.
If Joe Burrow hits him for that touchdown, is Jalen Ramsey still your number one cornerback?
I don't know. I would have to think about it.
But it was there. So if Joe Burrow doesn't have a dog shit offensive line,
Rams defense. He still plays for that Rams defense. They still have Aaron Donald breathing after the quarterback.
And they lost Von Miller. And they lost Von Miller.
And they added Bobby Wagner.
Bobby Wagner's not attacking the passer.
Correct, but the Bobby Wagner is going to help you in coverage if you're in zone. Bobby Wagner is going to help direct other people where to go, make sure they're in the right spot.
Okay. And listen, I'm not arguing
Jalen defense.
100%. And I'm not arguing Jalen Ramsey is the number one corner in football. I understand that. I get when anyone has him there. He's a great corner. Unbelievable corner. By the way, Jonathan, who sucks? Because he sucks. I need to know who sucks. Nobody on this list sucks. I'm going to just be clear there. But I'm not arguing that he's not an elite cornerback. But you can't say that play's irrelevant. It's not irrelevant.
Yes, I can.
He got burnt.
It wasn't a pass that was completed on him. Why is it not relevant?
If they lose
when you have that kind of
game,
defensive line in front of you, what do you mean if?
If they lose that game on that play, who's the biggest dog at that Super Bowl?
I mean, of course,
it would be Jalen Ramsey, right? He got burnt on the two biggest touchdowns.
There's other guys on this list. They had better rosters out. They would be higher up by list. We're not talking about these guys as individual players. We're not talking about these guys as individual players. We're talking about the circumstances that they're in and the kind of season that they're going to have.
It's fair. I respect that response. Your number one?
I have Jalen Ramsey.
Good answer.
And I put him there because he wears cool cleats. No. Listen. I'm not arguing your Super Bowl point, but to the same degree, it's one game. You can argue it's on the biggest stage. I would lend credence to that as well. But I've also seen this guy do things that nobody else on this list has done yet either. So I don't think he's going to quite take the fall that you think he's going to.
3?
I think
not terrible.
No, I'm just saying you tend to think he's kind of on the start of his decline. I don't think he's there yet. I still think he's firmly at the top. I'm not saying that's not coming soon. I think it's going to. I wouldn't be surprised if you have a Patrick Peterson type fall off.
Yep.
But I disagree with you timing on it. I don't think we're there yet.
So let me ask you one question. Do you think his best season's ahead of him or behind him? If you had to make a pick.
If I had to make a pick, I know what you want me to say.
No, I'm asking. I'm seriously. I'm not
we may have seen his best season. I think he's still capable of having one of those type of seasons.
Okay.
My point is, if he plays at 95% or has a 90 to 95% type year, I still think he's better than anybody else on this list.
Last year, if I would have told you that Jair Alexander was the number one cornerback in football, everybody had him number one and number two. That's literally what the list was, 1 or 2. He got hurt last year. I'm not holding last year against him.
I get it.
He's 26. Is he 25, 26? He's
young.
very young. What, younger than that? Okay. He's entering the prime of his career. He's the best man-to-man corner in football, in my opinion, and he showed that in the playoffs of 2020. They were clamoring to get this kid back. Jair Alexander is as shut down as it gets. As shut down as it gets. And he's a ball hawk. He'll leave his man to take someone else's interception. If it wasn't for Kevin King, he'd be in the Super Bowl already in his career. His injury hurt him last year. I have him as my number one cornerback for this year. I think he has a huge comeback year. I think Green Bay's defense improves, even losing Zadarius Smith. I think that Green Bay's still the elite in that division. And I think the reason he'll be so helped is he plays in a division with Justin Fields and Jared Goff. And Kirk Cousins is going to throw the ball 2-3 times a year. I think that the best corner in football is Jair Alexander.
I mean,
to be clear here,
I'm not mad about it.
when,
my 1 and 2
when
were the
do
same
injuries
last year as they
matter
are this
for
year.
you?
Injuries matter for me when you're older and you're aging and you're not able to respond to those injuries the way you once would when you're 22. So, like, let me give you for instance, right? When Adrian Peterson tore his ACL and the next year he ran for 2,000 yards, he was 26 years old. That injury wouldn't matter to me as much as it would matter when someone tears their ACL at 29 or 30. Recovering from injuries as your age gets old, as you get older, is a lot tougher than it is when you're 24. So that would be when they matter.
I mean, I guess my other argument would be you had Denzel at 10 because you said he can't stay on the field, and Jair's been in the league
5 seasons,
4 years and he's played 4 seasons.
This is his 5th season, no?
This is his upcoming. This will be his 5th season,
And he's never played 16.
He's had
15 was the
one year
most.
he's played 16.
Can I ask you a question? Before last year, what was your knock on Denzel Ward?
Couldn't stay healthy.
Okay. What were you guys were talking about paying Denzel Ward or not paying Denzel Ward because he couldn't stay on the field, right? Okay.
Correct.
He had a
Then he played
season
15 games,
where he
got
played
$100 million,
15 out of 17 and got $100 million. I don't think 10 is disrespectful. I think 10 is
would
where
have been 16. They didn't play anybody week 17. He wasn't injured, so it's not like
I can make an argument. That's fine. I can make an argument for Denzel Ward being 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th. I just have him 10th, but I have him in that bracket. 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th.
I'm fine with him being there. I'm fine with him being there. I just want the consistency because Jair has played 11 games in a season. He's played 13 games in a season. Like he played 4 last year. That's all.
Okay. Jair's also done it on a playoff level that was unbelievable and unstoppable when he had 3 interceptions in a playoff game. Listen, I'm consistent on when you play on the biggest stage, it matters to me. And the reason Jalen Ramsey got a little bit of a bump is because I feel like he got a little bit exposed. And by the way, you guys see how red I am, right? It's 82 degrees in here. I am literally sweating my ass off.
AJ Terrell didn't play on the biggest stage, though. That's another thing that I'm confused about.
AJ Terrell had the greatest statistical season in the history of Pro Football Focus rating cornerbacks. You could see it with your eyes, bro. You could see it with your eyes.
I'm not PFF's not my end all be all, but I hear you.
It's not. Can we get? I want to get to UFC next, like at the end. I need to get into the Philly versus Cleveland thing now. I'm there. I'm like, it's going to be tough for me to go down and then go back up.
No, we need a cool off period between
No. Why?
Because you're heated.
I like being here.
Because it's 82 degrees. That's why it's heated.
It is 82 degrees.
Facts.
It's hot as hell, man.
1 season on a terrible defense. Yeah, but okay, wouldn't that make him better though, John? 1 season on a terrible defense. Like, wouldn't it make it easier for him to look bad on a terrible defense? Like, what is the benefit for him having 1 season on one great season on a terrible defense?
What are we arguing here?
He's talking about AJ Terrell.
Who?
Gene's gonna pass out like Rousey, knockout in the first round.
Jesus.
Love you guys.
God.
Just keep bringing up the Rousey thing. All right.
What's going on the tombstone, bro?
Let's do Cleveland, Philly.
Okay.
I want to get in Cleveland, Philly. Mount Rushmore's, we're going to introduce it. It is going to be a series from Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. It's going to be the Mount Rushmore of 32. Is it 32, Kittrell? I think you have.
Well, we have 32, but we're going to have 4 playing games to get down to.
So 36 cities.
Yeah.
Okay. 36 cities. The Mount Rushmore. And just to highlight, we're going to have 2 New Yorks or 1?
I think LA and New York are getting 2.
Okay.
It's impossible not to do 2 for New York.
I did want to mention, I forgot what corner it was last year before we get too deep in this. There was a corner last year that you were talking about that was on a bad defense, and you said they didn't throw his James Bradbury, that's who it was. They were on a bad defense.
He's an Eagle now.
And then I know. But they got Adoree Jackson, and you're like, it's easy to be a stud when you're on a bad defense because teams, they just won't throw you the ball. When you have another guy on the other side. Those are your words, not mine, so don't attack me for it. But when you have another guy on the other side, it makes it easier to see if you're.
James Bradbury was on Carolina, though.
He was on the Giants. Ready tonight.
The Giants last season.
Yeah.
No, Carolina
Right.
before that.
But I'm just saying though, like when you're on a bad, that was my argument for if you're on a bad team, that's what the argument against it would be.
Okay. Can we get in Philly versus Cleveland?
Absolutely.
Okay. So what we're going to do is a Mount Rushmore of every single city, their greatest athletes, their greatest of all time. We've done our best to get the best four. For Cleveland, I gave 0 say. I let Cottrell get his full Cleveland 4. For Philadelphia, he gave 0 say. Me and Bill gave our 4. But for the rest of them, we're going to do Philly versus Cleveland to start it. It's the way to start it.
Yeah.
But for the rest of them, it'll be all 3 of our input in the greatest athletes for that city. We are not going to have 2 city athletes. Like LeBron won't be on the Heat and Cleveland. Like he won't be in Cleveland and Miami.
Correct. It's more like what you picture as being the predominant city that like you associate with that athlete. So yes. So LeBron would obviously he's going to be talked about here in a second for Cleveland. I mean, there's other ones that I'll come across, but yeah, if they played somewhere for 2 years, they're not going to be on that list.
And we've done our best to make to try to like split athletes to give them where they're most known for.
Correct.
For their best value of their seasons.
Fair.
Or that, correct. If somebody played 5 years one place and 5 the other, but the first place they had great numbers and won 2 championships, and the second place they didn't do anything, like they're going to be associated with that first city then.
So Cleveland, the land. Why don't you do you want to go 1v1 or do you want to go all 4 years? Do you want to unveil all 4?
I think
I mean, we can go one.
See, I don't think we should do it that way.
Unveil your 4.
I think he should unveil his 4, give his reasoning, put his out there, and then we'll do ours. And
Okay.
then we'll go from there.
That works. And I love the comments to continue coming in. Let us know what your opinion is.
The only thing I don't like about this is, like, I thought about it a lot today after we started talking about it. I've come to the realization that most likely a city I despise, like 2 or 3 cities I despise in sports, is probably going to win this.
We'll see. It's
Just
fair.
saying,
It's fair.
Yeah, I mean, just whatever.
They're the best athletes, the best city. That is what it is.
I mean, other cities they just have really good Mount Rushmore.
I would put Philadelphia's versus them all.
Listen, dude, I'll die on
Sure
that hill
you
with
would.
you. I'm just telling you, we're going to die on that hill.
I don't mind dying on it. All right, Cottrell starts off with Cleveland, the 16 seed. Just kidding.
So are we giving? Am I giving all 4, or am I giving one with their
You're unveiling your Mount
accomplishments?
Rushmore.
Or?
Whatever you want to say. You're trying to earn a vote here and prove your point. So unveil and say what you want to say.
Gotcha. That's like I'm going into the garden right now.
Yeah.
All right. So started off with first one, LeBron James, best NBA player ever. I don't care what you say. If you got him second best, that's fine. I'm calling
I'm
him the
third.
best ever.
Third.
You had him second. I can pull the clip, but regardless.
I had him third. Pull the clip.
Okay,
You have
I will
in front of
do.
him.
I had him third.
Who'd you have in front of him?
Wilt.
He didn't.
All right.
I'll pull the clip.
I did.
Don't worry about
Pull
it.
it.
I'll pull it after.
Pull
I'll pull
it.
it after.
Post it.
All right.
Pull that.
LeBron James, second in points, 7th in assists, second in playoff assists, first in playoff points, 4-time MVP, 4-time champion, 4-time MVP. I mean, he does all around game. He's going to be first ballot Hall of Famer, and if he's not your one, like he's my one, then he's definitely your 2, unless you're Gene, I guess. The second guy on this list, Jim Brown, one of the best running backs of all time, 3-time MVP, 8-time first team All-Pro, 8-time rushing leader. Of course, he's in the Hall of Fame. Next, we got the Cleveland Indian himself, Bob Feller, another 8-time All-Star, won the Triple Crown, 7-time strikeout leader, has 266 wins. Of course, he's in the Hall of Fame as well. And then we got a future Hall of Famer on here with my man Joe Thomas of the Cleveland Browns, 10-time Pro Bowler, first team All-Pro, and he has the NFL record for most consecutive snaps played. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, no doubt about it. And he's one of the best offensive tackles in the history of the league. Those are our 4 for Cleveland.
It's a solid list. It's a very solid contender. I had no issues with it. A very good list.
It's a good list.
Bob Feller was a good ad. Joe Thomas is like, I mean, listen, our third string would have Jason Kelsey. It's very similar. I'm serious. Joe Thomas, Jason Kelsey, Their careers
That's not
basically
even
mimic
close.
each other.
I regret
That's
giving
not
him
true.
Bob. I regret giving him Bob Feller now.
Question for you. You said it's not true, right?
It's not.
Why?
What do you mean, why?
Jason Kelsey's the best center ever to play the game. Is Joe Thomas best left tackle ever play the game?
Jason Kelsey's the best center ever played the game?
Ever.
I mean, who would you rather have, Joe Thomas or Jason Kelsey?
Jason Kelsey.
I can't argue with you there.
Did Joe Thomas give Super Bowl speeches like Jason Kelsey?
No, he didn't give speeches like AI either.
I'm going to. Can I start with Philly? We'll go back and forth.
I was just saying, do you want to just go back and forth on all four, or do you want to split them?
We'll go back and forth on all four.
Okay.
I want to start with.
That is also true. Kelsey is a Cleveland boy. So,
That's fine. He is.
Got out of there as quick as possible.
Who commented that?
Jonathan.
John, my man. I'm not arguing. I'm kidding when I say Joe Thomas, Jason Kelsey, but they're very comparable. I think Joe Thomas would be considered a better offensive lineman all time than Jason Kelsey, but that's our third string.
Tackle is just valued higher.
100%.
Joe
Jim
Thomas
Brown's the
is more of
second
the
best running
Jonathan
back of all
Ogden
time.
speed, but
Jim Brown's my second best running back of all time, Godfrey, but I get it. He's great. And I can understand if you haven't won. I'll start with the best third baseman in the history of baseball, Michael Jack Schmidt. 12-time All-Star, 3-time NL MVP, World Series MVP, 10-time Gold Glove winner. Before there was a Nolan Arenado, the best defensive third baseman in the history of baseball. 6-time Silver Slugger Award, 8-time NL home run leader, member of the 500 home run club. Michael Jack Schmidt is undoubtedly the best third baseman in the history of baseball. That is our first.
That is our first. Some people argue too. 'Cause the argument is Brooks Robinson. In more Gold Gloves offensively, it's just really not even that close. Mike Schmidt was just a better hitter. Maybe not average wise, but a power hitter. You heard all the Silver Slugger awards, All-Star game nods. He was the best third baseman in the entire major leagues for an entire generation. For a decade, however you want to slice it, he was the best third baseman in baseball on the planet, however you want to say it. Played on a terrible field for most of his career, which cut it short, probably even more so than it did. Dude is, he's still the most recognizable person with the Phillies franchise, and that's saying a lot when you consider the newer generation with the Rollins and Howard and Utley teams that won the World Series. Mike Schmidt is still the standard for the Philadelphia Phillies. Absolute, no doubt about her, Mount Rushmore guy. My favorite player growing up, obviously. So
give me a second one for Philly.
You
can go wherever you want.
I'll go Bobby. We'll go Bob Clark. Literally took a Flyers franchise when shortly after they were an expansion team, took it from the worst team in the league, created a completely a brand new tough persona. The Broad Street Bullies. It started with Bobby Clark and then Barber and that whole team. People don't realize how much of an underdog Bob Clark was. As great as he was a player, he had type 2 diabetes. And it led to a lot of teams passing on him in the draft or even signing him or even looking at him because they thought he was never going to be able to hold up physically and go through a full NHL season. So that's, he played with a chip on his shoulder. He was kind of one of the first guys that also played a physical brand of hockey but still had skill. Again, led us to back-to-back cups, Hall of Famer. Can't say the guy as a GM or a coach, but as a player, again, he is absolutely the most recognizable person with the Philadelphia Flyers franchise.
Well, my next one's the Minister of Defense, the best defensive player in the history of football. We don't need to say positions when we say Reggie White. We can just say the best defensive player in the history of football. All 80s decade team, all 90s decade team. He was 10 times in a row first team All-Pro. The Minister of Defense, there's nobody better. I don't need to mention much more. When you're talking about a whole side of the ball, it's him or Lawrence Taylor. You have no other argument. It's him or Lawrence Taylor, and I'll take Reggie White because he was a much better teammate and he was a better overall leader.
And he was an Eagle.
It was Reggie White was obviously growing up, that whole team, Clyde Simmons, Jerome Brown, Andre Waters, like all those guys. Reggie White, when he left, was the first professional athlete that I really loved and got upset with when they left town. You know, it was that was tough when that happened when he went to Green Bay. But yeah, I mean, if again, you're talking about greatest of all time, and to your point, your argument is Lawrence Taylor, Reggie White, two most dominant defensive players ever. And he was. I mean, he was the heart and soul of that team.
Unblockable.
Yeah, he really was. He was just, when you really think about that, to make an all-decades team in 2 decades, to be that dominant over that time, or that span of time, tells you all you need to know. Reggie White, again, another no doubter.
Now, statistically, you want to go Wilt?
What do you mean statistically?
What I was going to say, statistically, Wilt Chamberlain is the most dominant player to ever play the game of basketball. He's not the best. Michael Jordan's the best. But statistically, he had 100 points in the game. He has the highest point total in the season. He has the highest rebound total in the season. I understand the competition level that you're going to bring up. I get it. But with that being said, you can't hold it against him for being that much dominant and that much better than everybody else on the court.
No, you know, there's a lot of other things about Wilt Chamberlain that people, like, he was a track star. I mean, the dude was a freak athlete. He wasn't just a basketball player. You know, he played other sports growing up. He was all Division I for track. He is special. He's the first person that actually changed the game of basketball. They changed how it was played. They changed rules because of him. And it was because he was just that much better than everybody else, and he was that dominant. You know, the level of the average basketball player back then is clearly not what it is today. But at the same time, it wouldn't have mattered. He was just different, and, you know, in a good way, and he was so far ahead of his time. That's why.
Yeah, that's the biggest penalization he gets, is because he's ahead of his time.
Yep.
So I will take our Philadelphia Mount Rushmore. Wilt Chamberlain, arguably number 1, number 2, number 3, wherever you have him, greatest basketball player ever. You have Reggie White, the greatest defensive player in the biggest sport, NFL. You got Bobby Clark, the captain of the team that beat the USSR.
Yep.
Made the Russians quit.
Yep.
And you got the best third baseman to ever play the game, Mr. 500, Gold Glover, over 500 home runs, Michael Jack Schmidt. I'll take that Mount Rushmore over a lot of Mount Rushmores in this competition. I'm sure we will find New York and Boston and LA and these. I get it, but Cleveland. I mean, I give you LeBron James and Jim Brown. The other two are just, it's a very top heavy list.
It's a very good competition. Obviously, any team you could start with LeBron James is going to be very strong. Jim Brown's a great anchor. I think where you pull away there, though, is, you know, like you said, we still have, I mean, not that Joe Thomas is what hurts you, but I mean, in my opinion, it is. You're however you want to slice out the list, you're putting Joe Thomas up against someone who is a champion and a Hall of Famer. So, I mean, yeah, I think it's a victory for us.
Cottrell, do you have any arguments, or would you like to concede? We'd like you to concede.
No shot we concede. No chance.
I love you, bro. I really do. Like, as much as I go at you in this show, I hope everybody understands how much I love Cottrell. I call him all the time to talk about some of these lists and things like that, but Cottrell, continue. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I think our list speaks for itself, you know. Let the non-Philly fans, let them vote, you know.
We'll let the non-Cleveland fans vote then.
Too. Non-Cleveland.
Okay, just making sure.
You know, keep it split down
filling
the middle.
Up the damn list with Audia and Tiny, we're gonna be in trouble. No Philly guy. John, what do you think? Philly or Cleveland? Just wondering. He's a Cleveland guy. I'm just busting his balls. I think you can admit though, and listen, we got one more Philly versus Cleveland happening. It's happening Thursday, tomorrow. It could be Friday. We don't know. Whenever we get to it. But John is the manager of, and by the way, he had the first pick. He didn't pick the Cleveland Browns in the Madden League, the SIPO championship. John is 17-0. He's a heavy favorite in the SIPO Super Bowl versus the Eagles. This guy picked Philadelphia team. He picked Philadelphia. This guy right here, 15-2, Philadelphia Eagles, led by quarterback Justin Herbert. Hey, listen, I had a mortgage to franchise to get Justin Herbert.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're not winning with Jalen Hurts.
Exactly. But we're playing in the Super Bowl in the next couple days, and
who does he have?
He's a monster.
Hey,
he's got the Buffalo
so
Bills.
he hasn't lost in 3 seasons, so
He hasn't. He's a monster. But I'm telling you right now, what's going to happen when we play, it's going to be a big dub for the Eagles. Listen, John hasn't beaten me any year except this year, 22. Never. I was like 11 or 13.
Haven't been good enough to make it to the Super Bowl, is what you're telling me.
I made it to the first one, and he beat me in the Super Bowl, the first one. And I had Jalen Hurts. That was my issue. I fixed my quarterback issue. We're no longer. I have a speedy team led by 99 wide receiver Quez Watkins with 99 speed. But I'm telling you right now, he did beat me season 1. I had Jalen Hurts. That's fine. Mark it down right now. We'll talk about it next week. I'll give him his roses if he wins. The SIPO champion will be the Philadelphia Eagles. And that'll be another victory for Philadelphia over. It's funny. I would say Cleveland against the world. He's from Cleveland, but he picked the Buffalo Bills. He passed on the Browns. He goes, I want to go with the other sad franchise that never won a fucking Super Bowl.
Hey, win Super Bowls. He's from Cleveland. It works for me.
I'm just kidding. He's awesome. I'm just busting this ball. It said Hurts sitting about 40 points. He did with the 2 pick sixes. All right. Well, with that being said, we'll have more Mount Rushmores for you going forward. We might do 2 a week sometimes, depending on how the weeks play out. But we're going to have more and more of these Mount Rushmore, city versus city. We'll put it up to somewhat of a vote. I really don't think that you could put Ohio. It's fine. They're not winning. Philadelphia is clearly. I don't even know if we can allow Ohio to win that one. Look at the whole state of Ohio. I don't think they can beat us. If you add Cincinnati, we don't need the state of PA. Just add the whole state. We can give them all Ohio State Buckeyes too. Just kidding.
Mike Smith's Ohio bred himself.
If you want to go with people that are born and raised in the Philadelphia area, I have just as good of a list. You want me to add Kobe, B, and Bryant? I could do that. It's not very hard for me to do that. I could do it. Okay. My point being is it's a list of people that played professionally in these cities. If we want to go with people that are born and raised in this city, we'll win that too. I promise you.
You say so.
Paul Gravich joining. We're going to be doing an Atlanta and an Arizona team. Which one would you choose? All-time Atlanta, all-time Arizona. We'll find out when it gets loaded.
It's going to be Atlanta.
Probably. I don't know what he'd pick, though. Because Paul's like a... he's Alabama. Anything that begins with an A. Arizona, Alabama, Atlanta. Right, Paul?
I mean, Arizona's Phoenix.
Listen. Let me stay with my A trend.
All right.
I'm having fun here tonight, guys. All right? We got some UFC fights to get into. My heart rate's gone down a little bit. We can talk calm about these fights. He said it. John said Arizona. Not John. I want Paul's answer. Give me your answer. But we got some UFC fights that were just signed. I want to talk about them briefly about each one. I want to talk about each one, kind of get your initial thoughts of the signing. And I can't tell you how excited I am for UFC 280.
Shaping up to,
October 22nd, it's week of my birthday.
It's looking like
it's
the
card
of the
best
year.
Cards ever.
Yeah,
ever.
It's unless the fights are dud, it's probably gonna be the card of the year.
Well, let's lead with 279, and then we'll get into 3 280 fights. Okay, is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
I want to read you a quote. 280 will be sick. I want to read you a quote, though. I got to get it exact for you, okay? I'm going to Nate Diaz. I'm going to handle Nate Diaz's funeral with the UFC. Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat Chimaev versus Nate Diaz. The zombie Nate Diaz will get his last fight in the UFC and get out of his contract. And he fights the up-and-coming superstar, future 170 champion, Khamzat Chimaev. Your thoughts on the fight, and how about the opening odds being Khamzat minus 1150?
Selfishly, as much as as great as that 280 card's going to be, I'm probably most excited for this fight because I hate Nate Diaz. So I cannot wait for this fight to watch him absolutely get mauled. This is going to be like what happens like when people like fall into tiger cages and they get mauled and they have to like close the zoo and stuff. That's what this fight's going to be. I can't wait for it. I think it's probably he's probably going to be minus 1,300 somewhere around there by the time the fight goes off. I saw the quote yesterday. I put it in our chat right away. I laughed. It's one of the best trash talking lines I've ever heard in the UFC. And he fully expects to do that, and he's fully going to do that. I just don't see how this doesn't end well for Nate Diaz. I know he wants to get out of the UFC and get out badly and thinks he's going to go become a boxer, but damn, there had to be a better way to go. There had to be a better way to go.
I almost think that there's a chance Nate Diaz quits. Like, just quits. Like, walks in, takes a dive so he can get out of his contract.
Dude, that would be the biggest.
I want it on record
move
now. Nick
ever.
Diaz did that before, bro. Nick Diaz did that before in
did.
Strikeforce.
He did indeed.
Was that Nate or was that Nick?
Nick. It was Nick
It was Nick.
in
It was
Strikeforce.
definitely Nick.
Yeah. So I mean, listen, I hate the Diaz brothers, so I mean, I don't put anything past them, but
He's headlining the main event. There'll be a lot of good trash talk, and that's where it will end. Because I can't, like Joseph Jeffers said, I can't wait for him to call Hamzat a little bitch. Because that's what Nate Diaz loves to do in each one of his press conferences. And the one thing I am 100% sure of is Hamzat will not have to worry about if he likes Nate Diaz or not when he walks into the fight, as he did with Gilbert Burns.
no.
That was hilarious when Hamzat like, it's very, very hard for me to kill him when I see his family and they're such nice people. I don't think he'll have to worry about that with Nate Diaz.
I'm just over under 50% of what Nate Diaz says is actually like can be understood. Like the under.
Control? Giving Nate Diaz any chance?
No, of course not. I don't think Nate Diaz has any shot to win this fight. To be honest, I don't think there's any shot this fight lasts longer than 3 rounds. And I don't think Nate Diaz quits. I don't think he gets knocked out. I think this is going to be a doctor stop. It has doctor stoppage written all over it. I think what Hamzat's going to do to his face is going to be literally unruly. He's going to look like roadkill. Like when you can't swerve out the way and you hit that squirrel in the middle of the street. That's what Nate's going to look like by the end of the second round here, and the doctor's going to wave this one off. Maybe by the end of the first round. I think there's no shot Nate Diaz wins this fight, but I don't see Nate getting slept or anything like that, but doctor's going to come in and call it for him.
All right, so next fight on the agenda. It hurts me to do this because I'm going to do it in order of what they're going to do it on pay-per-view. So it'd be like the third fight, second fight, and then the main event.
That's what I was hoping we were going to do.
Yeah, it hurts
Talk
me to
about
do
the
this.
second best bantamweight?
Because the best 135-pound fighter in the world will be fighting against Sugar Shane. The Sugar Show. What?
I was telling the listeners that that's not true. The best fighter is not fighting Sugar Show.
Yes, he is. Peter Yan, who is dominated Aljamain Sterling in 2 straight fights, is fighting against, is not the champion, which is absurd to me. Even you had scored the fight for Peter Yan, but you're still saying that Aljamain Sterling is the best 135, which is absurd. But but he didn't. You scored the fight for Peter Yan.
Who won?
That's absurd. It's like arguing with a 5-year-old.
I love Control. He's like, who won?
The Sugar Show is going to get Sean O'Malley is going to get a very rude awakening in this division. This is the biggest jump in competition I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
With that being said, I don't think this fight's close.
Not close.
I think Peter Yan kills him.
I'm in that boat. I think this is a big jump. I think it finally, rubber kind of met the road somewhere behind the scenes here, and we're like, all right, like, kind of what we've been clamoring for with him. Like, we really have to see what he is. We're gonna find out at 280. Because I mean, don't get me wrong, he can win the fight. Like, I'm not saying he can't, but to win that fight, he's gonna have to win that fight. Like, that is like Peter Yan is gonna be in his face for 15 minutes. He's gonna have to outstrike him. He's gonna have to
It's a
finish.
shame that fight's only gonna be 15 minutes too.
Yeah, I mean, if it goes the way we think it's going, I don't need to see 25 minutes of it. I don't, because I don't dislike or O'Malley. Like I don't dislike him. I just don't think he's what some people think he is, and we're gonna find that out at 280. Because Peter Yan, we know what Peter Yan is, so that is gonna be a high pressured fight. It's gonna be exciting. Listen, those two guys are gonna get in. They're gonna bang. That's what they're gonna do. That's gonna be for this 3-tiered main card run that we're about to go on. That's gonna be a great start to it because they're just gonna go in there and throw hands for 15 minutes. That's what they're gonna do. So I love it. I can't wait to see it. I think Peter Yan's gonna win pretty decisively, though.
Love it. Your thoughts, Cottrell?
I disagree wholeheartedly. I think Peter Yan is going to win, and if we were picking the fight today, I would say Peter Yan, and I'd be pretty confident in that answer. But I don't think this is going to be a fight where we see O'Malley just roll over. I think O'Malley has the striking and he has the ability to hang with Peter Yan. I do think Peter's more sound. That's why I would pick him to win. But I think O'Malley has the combinations, and he's I think, perfect size against a guy like Peter Yan. There is a 5 inches difference height-wise between them. O'Malley's going to have a clear reach advantage, and O'Malley knows how to get to his spots. With Peter just being more seasoned, I would trust Peter a lot more in that fight, and that's why I would pick him to win. But I definitely think O'Malley will be able to hold his own, and if he goes in with the right strategy, I could definitely see that fight being close towards the end.
I mean, a 3-round fight, any fight can be close. All you have to do is win 1 round. I don't think he will. I think Peter Yan will dominate him. But I understand your point. It makes logical sense. O'Malley's very flashy. He's a flashy fighter that can win a round with his flashiness. He's not a tougher fighter. Peter Yan's a lot tougher. I don't know what Peter Yan did to you. I don't know why you hate him so much. And maybe it's because you're such an Aljamain fan. But Peter Yan is clearly the class of that division.
You don't like Peter Yan, though.
He doesn't.
You might not hate him, but you don't like him.
That's not true. I didn't like how much hate Aljo got. And I understood with the first fight fiasco. I'm all for that. But after we saw the second fight and the flack that he still got afterwards, I wasn't a fan of that. That's all.
Because everybody that watched the fight knew who won the fight.
I just feel like no matter who's in the cage,
he won round 1, 4, and 5. It was very clear. How 2 judges gave Aljamain round 1 is beyond me.
I don't know.
I just feel like no matter who he's fighting, like we could put Gene in the cage on him and Cottrell be like,
Gene's got a shot.
Exactly. I got roads to victory for Gene here, Cottrell.
It just so happens the last time we talked about him, the past 2 times have been against Aljo. And the first time I gave Aljo the flag for bowing out. But the second fight, it was a close fight. And the whole adage is to be the champion, you have to beat the champion. But for some reason, against Aljamain Sterling, him holding the belt, they didn't apply here. That's all.
Well, when someone clearly wins 3 rounds, I don't understand how you can make an argument that he didn't clearly beat the champion. And I don't think Aljo should have been champion to begin with. I don't think that should have been the argument there. He got the championship by DQ, and he didn't even have a concussion. He fake woozied. Oh, I'm so dizzy. And they're like, oh, he doesn't have a concussion. He's fine. He's good. He could have continued. And then after the second time they fought, he goes, no, I don't want to run it back with Jan. Let's go fight somebody else. No way. I hate Aljamain.
Let's talk about him now then. Let's talk about him now.
Aljamain Sterling versus TJ Dillashaw is the next fight on the docket. There was some doubt that this fight was going to get signed. There was a lot. Just 2 days ago, they said it's off the table. And then yesterday it got signed, which is great. It's great for sport of UFC. It's great for sport of MMA. Not the sport of UFC. It's great for the UFC. It's great for the sport of MMA. With that being said, I don't know what TJ Dillashaw you're going to get. You're coming off of a long layoff. Dillashaw's lost a lot of my respect for cheating. Lost a lot of my respect for cheating. You guys know my feelings on guys that have been caught multiple times doping. With that being said, I don't know how to pick the fight, but I'm happy to watch it. You guys have a strong... I know where Cottrell's probably going to go.
I
do have a strong feeling about this fight.
I'm strong one way.
Is it TJ?
I'm strong.
Yeah, Cottrell.
I'm also strong TJ.
Okay.
TJ is he's the class of that division. And the only guy that's beat him in that division is Dominic Cruz. Hate him as much as you want to. if he's not the best, he's number 2 all time in that division. And I think TJ is going to show you what TJ is going to come out. It hasn't been that long of a layoff. He fought last year in July. I mean, a year layoff is, I mean, it's a little bit of a stretch, but
Year
I
and a
think
half.
it's a lot different than a year and 2 months.
3
or 3 months. Sorry, it was the end of July. Regardless, we're splitting hairs here. That's not a. I wouldn't say that's a long layoff. And he was going up against tough competition in Corey Sandhagen, and that was a great fight. I think TJ is just going to be I think he's a better fighter than what Aljo is. He was a champion before he got stripped for testing positive. And I hate cheaters just as much as you do, Gene. But I think TJ is just another class, and I think he beats Aljo pretty convincingly.
That's fair. TJ might. So when you said Peter Yan was the second best in the division, you meant Dillashaw 1, Yan 2. I get it. Makes sense. Go ahead, Bill.
I mean, Cottrell hit on a lot of stuff I wanted to say. I think TJ is the class. The cheating stuff I don't like to that level. I mean, he got caught red-handed, popped badly, and his suspension was accordingly because it was. I mean, there was no ambiguity or gray area. I mean, like the dude got popped for taking like horse steroids. So, that being said, before that, he was still the best in the class. I think this is a jump up for Aljamain Sterling. I think this controversial fairy tale, however the hell you want to label it, title reign that he's had is going to come to an end at 280. I think TJ beats him. I think TJ probably finishes him. And then, I guess at some point we get, as long as Yan gets through Sugar, we'll get TJ Yan. So
that's the fight I want to watch.
That's the fight I want to see as well. So I think everything works itself out in the end.
I would love for that to happen. If that's the ideal situation, I would love it. The last fight we're going to get into is Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira. So I did a ton of breakdown of this fight in my head, like looking at Islam's last 5 fights. I've obviously watched every one of Charles's fights, every minute of them in the last 3 years. It's disrespectful. That opening line of Islam minus 300 is disrespectful.
I agree. I mean, we had the same reaction at the same exact time about it.
Islam's
not that high.
Islam's going to lose that fight. I'm telling you right now.
I agree.
You know what I see happening in that fight? I think Islam's going to take him down, wrestle him, and get caught the same way Chael Sonnen got caught versus Anderson Silva. I think there'll be one time in that 5-round fight where Charles Oliveira wraps his legs around Islam's neck and gets him into like a
triangle,
different triangle choke. Yep. Mm-hmm. I think that Islam will be winning the fight, and I think that Charles will lock him up. I think that if there's one person you do not want to be on the ground with, Charles Oliveira. He's literally the better striking version of Damian Maia. Islam Makhachev is a wrestling. He's a Khabib protege. He's going to try to ground and pound you and hold you down wrestling wise. And I think that for 5 rounds, at least one time, Charles will get him in a position that will submit him, or at least knock him out cold.
I see it very similarly. I think the way this fight goes is going to be interesting because I actually agree with you. I think Oliveira's going to kind of weather the storm a little bit at the beginning. To your point, he's going to come out and take him down. Like we know that's what he wants to do. I think he'll probably stand and strike a little bit, but I think ideally that's not where he wants this fight to be. I agree with you to the same point, though. If you're going to put Oliveira on his back for 25 minutes, I think you're very naive to think at some point he's not going to catch you into something. And then I think that can turn the fight because it can go from ground and pound to being submitted in about 5 seconds. It's that quick. He's that smooth. His transitions are that good. He doesn't bring all his submissions from quote unquote traditional angles or traditional places. He's very tricky. I think he has to be very careful sitting in his guard every time he takes him down. Listen, I wasn't not that I didn't think Oliveira was good, but he's shown me something the last, for lack of a better term, the year and a half. We've been doing this show and he's been champ. The dude's a warrior. and I've become a big fan of him. I think Oliveira gets it done.
Control?
Every show we've had before, when we talked about Charles Oliveira, I picked him every time. You guys know how much I like Islam. Gene, I see the fight pretty much identical to what you do as of today. I think Islam has if anybody's camp would prepare him for that, Islam would be the camp. Islam's camp with American Kickboxing Academy. Of course, you guys know Khabib's training him. DC's in that gym as well, so I'm sure DC will be there helping him out with his camp. But I think if anybody can be prepared for what Oliveira does, it'll be Islam. But training in the gym can only go so far. And so I think being in the gym, going up against, sparring against Khabib and, wrestling and all that stuff with Khabib and DC, that's one thing. When you go up against a guy like Charles Oliveira, the stuff that he does is really going to surprise you. And I agree. I think he's going to be up in that fight. And I think he gets caught with a submission out of nowhere. I think it's going to prove that he is one of the best in that division. But at the end of the day, I just feel like we've really hit the stride in the era of Charles Oliveira. And ultimately, Gene, me and you are both all on board with it. I think this is going to be the one that brings out of retirement. I really do.
I hope so. I really do, because that would be one of the biggest build-up fights ever. But
if he beats Islam, where is he on the 155 Rushmore?
I mean, he would literally fall right into fourth. He'd fall right into fourth if he beats Islam.
So you have 3 ahead of him? Yeah. What did you say?
He said 1 or 2.
I said he'd be 1 or 2.
See, I agree with Cottrell.
You would have him 1 or 2?
I would put BJ in front of him.
You wouldn't put Khabib in front of him?
No.
Undefeated, untouched.
I think Oliveira's fought better people.
Oliveira's got better wins.
Yeah.
Okay.
In that division at 155, he's got better wins.
Okay. All right, let's get into You Gotta Be Kidding Me. Cottrell?
All right, Mike, cue the video. Why You Gotta Be Kidding Me this week is Devin Allen. Devin Allen got disqualified from the World Championships in Oregon because
so ridiculous
of a false start. And you guys will see it here. They'll show exactly what happened. He's next to Grant Holloway, the guy who actually ended up winning the championship here in this event.
Want to play it? There we go.
There's no way that
no flinch, no nothing. They just took off. He basically got penalized for being fast. It was 1/1000th of a second. You can't see it with the naked eye. He wasn't trying to cheat. He wasn't getting any advantage. And for those of you who don't know, Devin Allen right now is a Philadelphia Eagle. He's a receiver for them, just signed, and he's got the 3rd fastest time all time in this event. And so for the World Championships to pull him out of this event for that false start is absolutely unforgivable. So for me this week.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Charlie?
I actually have one this week because my favorite whipping boy decided to open his mouth this weekend and say some stupid stuff. So I'm going with Rob Manfred. Did an interview with ESPN about the ongoing battle between minor leaguer pay for minor league baseball players. He made the unfortunate quote of saying, "I don't think there's an issue with what we pay minor leaguers." Just to give you a brief look into what minor league baseball looks like. If you're not a #1 draft pick or a guy that was drafted highly and working your way through the minors, these kids on average make roughly around $400 a week. They get food stipends. They put 3 or 4 guys in like a 2-bedroom apartment. It's not glorified living by any means, but you're making $400 a week to ride around on buses to all these trips. Like, minor leagues teams don't fly places. And he obviously took a lot of flack for it instantaneously. To put it in perspective, Rob Manfred makes $17 million a year to continue to ruin baseball. And this has been going on for years and years. It was getting to the point where owners and the Players Association were starting to get together and have talks and try to improve everything, improve living, higher wages, so the guys could go out a little bit more, enjoy themselves. Like I said, better living conditions, better travel, and he just literally just put a huge, just bullshit move right in the middle of it, and now both sides are pissed off again. So as usual, Rob Manfred, when he should have went right, he went left. Just another stain on his reign as commissioner of baseball. So for this week, Rob Manfred yet again.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Mine's fun. Just came out today. Cottrell shared it, and I really didn't have one until I read it. And it's the Washington Nationals for their treatment of Juan Soto. You don't know, Juan Soto was offered a massive contract extension, 15 years, $440 million. Cottrell, 450.
Something like that, yeah.
It would have been a record. Juan Soto turned the contract down. So the Washington Nationals didn't charter his plane out to the All-Star game in the Home Run Derby. So Juan Soto booked a commercial flight, sat in a commercial flight, and flew to the All-Star game, got in at 1:30 in the morning, and then proceeded to win the Home Run Derby that night. I love it for me as a Phillies fan because I don't think the Washington Nationals realize what they're doing. If I want you to do me a favor and just Google the Dominican Republic starting lineup for the World Baseball Classic. And if you don't know how close-knit these players are, I want you to look at the Home Run Derby when you've seen Starling Marte hugging Juan Soto each round, rooting for him when his teammate Pete Alonso was in the Home Run Derby. The Dominican-born players, they are very close-knit as a whole. Washington Nationals did an absolutely ridiculous thing by, listen, he doesn't want to sign with your team. You want to pay him $440 million? He said no. Trade him, get a ton of assets for him, and move on. What you essentially did is you let every free agent know, you let every young kid know that the Washington Nationals, if you don't want to sign with them, they're going to treat you like trash. So with that, this week, the Washington Nationals organization.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Fun show. Any final thoughts, anyone?
Got nothing.
I got nothing.
All right, so fun show this week. I appreciate you guys joining us. Download us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify, anything you can listen to podcasts on. Appreciate you guys listening. Make sure you give us your comments on your Mount Rushmores in Philadelphia and Cleveland, and we will have a new Mount Rushmore list next week, as well as our linebackers list for the NFL. So with that, this week, this is Wire2Wire Sports Podcast, signing out.